We have mapped all of the local resources in your communities,
and those are entered into the database, and they're embedded in the platform. As we then interview older adults, there is an assessment tool which is a 30 to 60-minute conversation with trained assessors, and older adults then identify what their concerns are. And as they identify their concerns, the database then flags resources that are available in the community to meet those needs. So that's the ACT tool itself. So how are we going to answer the two questions that I laid out to you? So our goal is to recruit and interview about 480 community living adults age 65 and older in 3 communities. And the 3 communities are Richmond, CBRM, and Victoria County. There's 2 ways we analyze the data. First, once we go through this assessment with older adults, they receive an individual action plan. And I'll show you one of those in a moment. And these action plans lay out for them what their identified concerns and priorities are and the available resources. And each individual receives that action plan. Once we've interviewed many adults, we can start to aggregate and summarize that data and produce community profiles. So you begin to know, if you summarize what are the main concerns of all of the older adults in your community, you begin to see where there are gaps and where there are strengths within the community. By then interviewing these older adults and many of the stakeholders involved, we're able to assess the potential for provincial scale-up of the project. And it is really that aggregated data as well as the input from communities that help us assess whether we should or whether the province should or shouldn't scale this up across the province. So where are we so far? Well, at this stage, between the 3 communities, we have recruited 221 people. Of the 221, 191 have been assessed using the ACT tool. And so every one of them has been asked the 56 questions. They've been asked what are their priorities and what are their concerns and what are their priorities. And Brianna, if you go to the next slide. So at this point, we are at the stage where we have enough data to begin to understand the results and to present to you some options for how you might receive the results about your community. There are essentially 5 options. The one in the middle, the concerns, priorities, and resource gaps, you will receive this. So this one we know that we've spoken to enough community groups, municipalities, the province. Everyone is really very interested in knowing what are the concerns, priorities, and the resource gaps. So I'll show you an example of that. There are then 4 ways which we can produce scores. And the score is a sum or an aggregate of your community. And there are 4 ways to do that. One is, and the 4 are presented here in front of you with the categories or domains that we can create scores. I'll show you one example of the wish scores so that you'll see what a scoring system looks like. But essentially, maybe just, stay there. But for each of the 4 ways we can produce scores, the scores look different. They're the same questions, but they're grouped in different ways. So the first is the ACT domains, and you'll see there are six domains or categories of activities there. They're pretty self-explanatory. They're understandable. The wish score has less categories, so it becomes a little higher level, but there's only 4, which is kind of nice in a way. The ACT domains and the WISH domains we can aggregate easily from the data that we have. The next way, because they were built into the original tool. The next way is the ICOPE. These are integrated care for older people. These are a WHO categorization, and WHO and ICOPE has developed care pathways. So people who are at risk of falls, they've developed care pathways. So the ICOPE domains lead to recommendations of what needs to happen. The first 8 domains look very medical. The 9th, social care and support, is much more community focused. It's, participation, loneliness, violence. So it's much more community focused than the other 8, which look and are much more medically oriented. The final way is to use age-friendly community domains, which I know you're all familiar with. We might be able to do this. The other 3 are all built into the platform, and automatically we can generate them. For the age-friendly community domains, that will be much more work for us. But if that's the thing that would be important to people, then of course that's what we would propose to do. So let me just tell you a little bit more about the action plans so that you get a sense of how we generate these tools. So I said there's a number of questions. It's a conversation. And here you see 2 examples of the question. Can you use the bath or shower? And can you feed yourself? So this individual has said these are a problem for them. They are concerned about them. When they get to the end of the interview, all of the things that people have identified as a concern are brought back to the individual, and you say, you've identified all of these as a concern. Now, which ones do you really want to prioritize? Which ones of these do you want to know about local resources? So in this case, this individual has prioritized these 2 areas. So bathing and showering and feeding themselves. As they identify these as their priorities, they get presented with potential resources. They get to select which resources they want to know about, and then they're sent an action plan that has all of the details about the resources that they've selected. So this is how we identify concerns and priorities of older adults. So what does that mean when we start aggregating or summarizing these? Well, of 190 people across the 3 municipalities in Cape Breton, we know that the top concern and priority of older adults is financial allowances or benefits. And 52 of 190 people identified this as a priority for them. Close behind, 48 people prioritized bodily pain and wanted resources for that bodily pain. 37 prioritized sleep concerns, and then 31 and 28 loneliness and feet problems. When you then start looking at how many received or found and select resources, so 52 of 54 found and selected resources around financial allowances. 37, which is pretty good. 37 out of 48 only found resources for their pain. So that begins to identify where there's a gap. There's really a lot of people with pain, not a lot of community resources to help them with that. 37 with sleep problems, only 21 found resources. And when you look at those experiencing foot problems, only 18 out of 28 were able to find resources. So these are the numbers and the kinds of problems and priorities that we will definitely be able to summarize and provide for you. And in case you're curious about Richmond, we have broken this down in the next slide. So the first column is the top priorities in Richmond. Interestingly, CBRM, and when you combine them all pretty much across Cape Breton, they are the same. They are a slightly different order, but the top priorities are the top priorities, regardless of the county that you're in. So pain and feet problems are the biggest priorities of older adults age 65 and over in Richmond County. And this type of information we will absolutely be providing to you. As I said, the other option is to have a scoring mechanism. So in the next slide, you'll see these are the wish scores. So as I said, all of the items are grouped into 4 areas: well-being, independence, social engagement, and health. So this is the average score of older adults. So we are talking to people who are living in the community, not in long-term care homes. So you can see that the average independence score is pretty high. It's above 90. Social engagement is good. When you start looking at health, the scores are dropping down. And when you look at well-being, the score drops even more. So we can produce these scores that give you a kind of a barometer reading on your community in the different areas. So that's an example of how a score might look. And Brianna, if you go to the last, I think our last slide is these, no, oh, sorry, back. So as I said, there are 5 different options. One of them, the concerns and priorities, we will absolutely produce for you. But then there are the 4 scoring options, and we are very, very interested to know which of these would be the most useful to you, which would be the things that would produce scores that you might be able to act on or use to solve problems in your community. And although we don't have a slide, the other thing I will just say that we are learning in this process right now, this is a research project, and we have our coordinators who are going above and beyond to recruit and help assess participants. But we are quickly learning that volunteers and recruiting from a research perspective and a volunteer basis is really not a sustainable option. So we will be recommending that if there is a scale up across the province, there has to be a home for this. There has to be a place where this tool is used consistently with everyone who comes through the door in order to give you as a community good data. Options that are being included or considered: senior safety, some of the new CORA initiatives, primary healthcare teams, any other services for older adults. So that's a question. That's also a question. So 2 real questions for you. Which of these ways of presenting findings would be most useful? And if you were thinking that these findings are helpful to you as a municipality, what would be your recommendation for a home for this in a scale-up process? And I think that's the end of the presentation. So very happy. I've got great colleagues here and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Can you guys hear us yet?
I can now.
Oh, wonderful! I'm
Yes,
so
thank you.
glad. we could hear you. We could hear you very well through your presentation, and thank you for that. So you're looking for council, I guess, at this stage to provide you with which of the one of the 5 options for presenting. I guess which one of the 4 that you're not. That you said you're going to provide the concerns, priorities, and resource gaps. So which one of these other domain kind of structures would we like? Is that it?
Or if you would even want one of those, I guess.
Okay.
If you say, look, all we really want are the concerns and priorities, that's
Right.
fine. But do any of these sort of jump out at you as this would be very helpful for us? Because we want to produce and provide feedback to you that is useful to you.
And I mean, we could have that discussion. We may want to kind of go back and talk with a few folks about it and bring you back an answer. on first blush, I can tell you the age-friendly community domains jump off the page for me, because this is what our telephones ring about, you know, and I would say second to that maybe the ACT domains, but no, it's some great options and really interesting kind of barometer that you're able to provide too, based on the data you collect. So maybe we'll take that away and get back to you with an answer. We could ask, you know, just think about it and then ask staff to provide you with an answer on that, if that's okay. And in terms of having a home on a scale up province-wide, obviously our central agencies around Nova Scotia Health or Department of Health and Wellness, or, like, is that what you're thinking, like from a government perspective?
I think from a government's perspective, it would be more about the funding it, rather than, because they may not actually have the right mechanism for delivering it. Have we lost folks?
You? Oh, maybe we did lose them. Can you just let her know?
There you are. I see
okay.
you're still there. You disappeared from my screen, and I thought, oh no, she's gone away.
No, we're here.
So I think government would be more the funder per se than, you know, where would this actually live? Because, you know, they don't actually see older adults coming through their doors in the same way as, for example, senior safety or some of the new social prescribing initiatives.
Could I just jump in here for a minute, Tanya? I guess to kind of build on a little bit about what Amanda's saying is that it's true that Nova Scotia Department of Health may end up being the funder or whatever, but I guess my concern about senior safety positions is it's not consistent across the province. There are municipalities that have no senior safety. There has not been one here in Antigonish for 3 years now. And I'm just wondering about, you know, and then if you went with continuing care or VON, you're only getting people who are accessing those services. You're not getting the entire senior population. So, I mean, therein lies a bit of the challenge in terms of the scale up part. Like, where is the home where all seniors have access to it? I'm not convinced that there's any one place in the province that that's the case. I think every community is different.
Yeah, thank you, Celeste. And yeah, so councillors, do you have any questions or comments on this one?
Yeah, for me, you had mentioned there was 221 recruited out of the 480 that you were looking for. Would you guys have a breakdown of those 221 where, like, from Richmond, Victoria, CBRM? Would you have a breakdown of those 221?
Yeah, I'll take this one. So the stats we included in that presentation, which were from the last week of September, Richmond represented 77 of the completed assessments, and then about 15 more who were registered. So right around 99.
Tanya, you're muted.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Richmond is leading the pack, so rah for Richmond. You're doing a great job, Celeste. Thank you.
Yeah, and I know there's still work to do on recruitment for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we have 84 that have been completed to date out of the 221 for Richmond. But if you think about, comparatively speaking, with our population, our numbers we're doing quite well, but we still have things planned, including October 27th. We're hoping to do some recruitment that day and a couple of other events that are happening.
Yeah.
Yes,
great,
we'll actually be in Cape Breton for that event.
Okay, well, this is a really great update. Thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate it. We'll be in touch with, I guess, some direction on how we want to proceed with kind of reporting back. And I think in terms of where does it live on the scale up, that's not something we can answer this evening either. You know, or if it gets scaled up for that matter, right? So it's I think that's a bigger question we'll all have to put our heads together on.
Well, we are asking the province, so we've been in conversation with them about that now. So we're starting that process before we get to the end of the project.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Bye-bye. All right. So our next presentation is from the Adult Drop-In Center, and Marie Berkey is here with us. And Barb Adams, I see in the audience. So I'll ask you to come up, Marie, and over to you. Welcome, welcome. And I'll just get you to press the button on your microphone. I think it's a red button. Sure thing. No, you're good.
That's a lot of stuff. I leave it like that and then I talk? Okay. I knew I'd be nervous. Anyway. Okay, my name is Marie Berkey. I live in Lordways. I'm here to talk about the Adult Drop-In Center. And I found out tonight that on October 12th, which is next Thursday, the drop-in center has been operating for 17 years. And the only time we weren't there was during the COVID period. And as of the weekend, we now have 8 volunteers. But 17 years ago, we started off with about maybe 7, 8 participants with 2 volunteers. The last Thursday of June, before we ended up before the summer break, we were 42 people with 7 volunteers. So we're growing. And a point I wanted to make, too, is that it's not just for mental health people. It's anybody that's lonely or wants to have fun, anybody can come. So we meet every Thursday from 1 to 4, every week, at the St. Peter's and Areas Lions Hall, 39 Lions Avenue in St. Peter's. We have a very, very good crowd of people. It seems everybody's just friendly, they're happy, they laugh. We have music. It's relaxing. It's like we don't care what they look like or what they talk about, or we're all there just to listen to them and interact every which way we can to help them get along. And it's just like, as a volunteer, like, we go home. I know most volunteers feel this, that we have been such a big help for all these people, because it's just the reaction that we get from them. Like, they laugh, they joke, we have music once in a while, and people go up to the microphone and sing, and they dance, and they do all this stuff. So, and every week we have lunch. Without food, I don't think they would come. So to feed 42 people is a lot of sandwiches. We usually have 3 or 4 different kinds of sandwiches, and of course sweets, tea and coffee, all they want to eat, and they can eat, let me tell you. And that part is just great, right? You're around the table, and you got friends, and they talk, and they carry on, and all this stuff. And about 2:30, let's say, we play bingo. And the bingo prizes come from all the people everywhere, for people that, if you declutter a cupboard and you see a teapot that you will never use, well, they call me, I pick it up. I wrap it, and then they have to unwrap. Okay, so let's say it's a guy or a girl or anybody. They have to unwrap the prize before we go to the next game. And then they're there. Well, what did you get? Oh my gosh, is that ever nice? Can I have it? Stuff like that. So it's all different stuff that people carry on and everything. So okay, let me read my notes. I'm talking too much here. Yeah, see, it says here, social interaction improves your ability to recover from stress, anxiety, and depression. And it certainly works. We see it every week. People are coming from all over the county. We get the Friends of Il Madame, the 2 small option homes of Bluesdale, somebody from Lennox Passage, River Bourgeois, St. Peter's, Lordways, of course. There's somebody that comes from Loch Lomond. So it's pretty well all of Richmond County. And they all come. They come every week. There's a guy, actually I'm going to give him a prize on Thursday. He has never missed a week. Never, since it first started. Yeah, he's the only one. So then I can give him a gift card or something just to, we got to make sure, of course, that we got money to feed them. So I sure thanked Richmond County Council for all the donations you've given us over the years, and especially this next one. Oh, it's going to be great. It saves a lot of stress. There was a few facts that was written down. I won't read them all because everybody knows. Mental illness indirectly affects all Canadians at some time in their lives. Mental illness affects people of all ages, educational backgrounds, income levels, and cultures. Stigma attached to mental health issues presents a serious barrier to diagnosis and treatment. And once depression is recognized, help can make a difference for 80% of people affected, allowing them to get back to regular activities. And this is what we try to do when they come. Like, we all treat them the same. It doesn't matter what they have. Like, some of them don't even have mental issues. They just like to come. But it's okay. We take them all in. The more the merrier. And when we have as far as lunches and stuff, where we try to get them to help make the lunch. And sometimes we have people coming in, like dietitians and stuff, and then they will teach them how to make like a simple meal, or because most of them just live alone. And then before we go to bingo, well, a lot of them play like cribbage, some play chess. We have board games, we have jigsaw puzzles, so everybody kind of keeps busy that way. And then we play bingo. So, and another one that comes in, we have floor curling. Now, that is really interesting because it's very, very competitive. Oh, my good gosh, like, it's unbelievable, yeah. And once in a while, we will get a professional. Like, for instance, in May, we're going to get a psychologist to come in to do a talk. And, you know, they listen very well. They're very, very interested. Somebody came in a while back, and all to do with the scams and the frauds and all this stuff. Now, that really opened a lot of their eyes because it's so sad, right? And and we do a little bit of fundraising. Well, we do quite a bit of it. Ticket sales. Our house at a yard sale, getting rid of junk, and we did quite well on it, and most of the funds went to the drop-in because making food is expensive now, so everything that helps is a help. Every month, we celebrate the birthdays of whoever's birthday is in that month. They get their name put on a cake. And, of course, we sing happy birthday and all this stuff. And occasionally, we have live music. One of them is Tyrone David. And he can sure get the crowd going. It's unbelievable. Like, they dance and they laugh, and he's really good at it. And we used to do trips. Like, for instance, we went to the Two River Wildlife Park in Marion Bridge and all those places, right? But now everything is so expensive. We can't even take them for an ice cream. Like, it's just all of this, you know. So, but they're happy to be at the hall. And we just keep them busy, and at 4 o'clock, everybody takes off, and we all go home. And that's about it for that. I don't think I missed anything. I had got some quotes from people that come regularly, just to see what they felt about the drop-in center, because we work hard at it, right? Like, 8 volunteers for 42 people is not too many. And it's a lot to do. But anyway, most of them were saying, oh, it was the good food, the nice lunch, the music, singing, lots of fun, good laughs. Most people love to play bingo. The good company, the inclusion of whoever comes in. They don't feel like they have to fit in. They fit in. The idea of being among friends, and it's great to see all the smiles on everybody's faces. So, you know, you can't ask for much more than that. And, of course, the Adult Drop-In Center is supported by the Dr. Kingston Memorial Community Health Center. And their staff, especially Sherry Sampson, is very, very helpful. And anything I need to be printed or whatever, even this year, she did it. I had no clue what to do with this. So thanks, Sherry. And also the St. Peter's and area Lions Hall. The good thing about them is that we get the hall free of charge. They don't charge us anything. We have the full kitchen, and we just walk in. We don't have to worry about keys or anything. We leave at 4, and we just leave. Yeah, so that is very, very, and once in a while they will support us money-wise too, from their bingos and stuff. Now, Sherry found a picture of the group, and I figure maybe this is about, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago. It's a long time ago, and it was a Christmas one, and it's just like we always try to give them like little gifts from Santa Claus. Santa Claus comes. Last year we had a hard time finding a Santa Claus, let me tell you, but we found one. And like just little things, right? But they're so pleased to have just a little gift from Santa. They sit on his knees and they carry on, and here's a little gift, like everybody's name is mentioned, and we go on, like, you know. So all in all, it's just great to be involved with them. And I want to personally thank the volunteers. I think they're going to hear all this anyway, because they come every week, and we just have a good time, and we provide them with good food, and that's how she goes. Yep. And thank you very much for inviting me over.
Absolutely. Thank you, Marie. So I think the picture says it all. Honestly, what strikes me about it is the age range. You've got a wide age range of folks who are coming in. Yes.
So we do have a young person.
Could you just press your button again? Sorry.
Yeah, it's mainly older people. Well, the oldest one would be 82, I think, and the youngest one is 22. Oh, wow. So we have a range. Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
That's great. Right. Well, I know it's our pleasure to have you here this evening. Counselors, do you have any questions for Marie? I think you answered our questions. We often will ask, well, who's coming from where, and it's yeah.
At one time, it wasn't that extended, but now they come from everywhere, all over the county. Yeah, yeah. So,
okay. Well, I think we have a check to present this evening, so maybe I'll ask you to come up. And I don't know, Deputy Warden, if you want to come up and take a picture too. We'll do a little check presentation. So I'll ask everyone to bear with us for a few minutes, and we'll get a quick picture with Marie and Barb, maybe. Oh, are you moral support here today?
Everybody was busy. We're trying to get all the volunteers here, but everybody's busy. So,
go ahead. There you go.
Wait, let me fix my cup.
Yes, yes.
Thanks, Chris. Excellent.
Perfect. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Oh, God. This is going to help so much you wouldn't believe. Save me a lot of worries.
And if you need some elves around the Christmas event that you do, or the Christmas gathering, you just let me know, because I'm sure we can arrange that. I know some elves. They're very good, yeah. No, oh my goodness. All right, thank you so much for coming in. All right, we'll see you soon. Okay, now on to our business, new business. We have Zone 3 curbside collection tender. Feels like going from a lot of joy to a lot of serious business all of a sudden, but anyways, we do have a memo from staff regarding the collection in Zone 3. And I guess a recommendation, essentially to follow the policy and to go ahead with awarding this longer-term tender for a curbside collection. As you know, we had an interruption service, I think it was in August. There has been a temporary solution in place, and I believe it was 2 quotes received. And so the analysis from staff is essentially to recommend that the tender be awarded to the lowest price bidder, even though it has come in much, much higher than what we had budgeted. So that's, I guess, essentially why we've got this back in front of council. I don't know, CAO or staff, if you wanted to say anything more on that.
Sure. I'd just add very quickly, based on the director's notes as well that was included in your package, is we reached out to some of the other counties as well, just to give you an idea of how expensive the solid waste is getting. Just to show that, yes, this contract is higher, but it's not out of the realm of what others are paying as well. And we have a number of other districts that'll be coming up, and, you know, we do fully expect that these will all keep climbing as the price of gas and everything else goes up as well. And I will defer to my director of ops if he has anything else to add.
No, there's nothing more to add. The other contracts don't come up until April 1st of 2025. Again, we do expect pricing to go up for the reasons that the CAO has mentioned. We do feel they're on par with what other areas are seeing who have tendered recently. Just comparing to the other rurals in Cape Breton, when factoring in population, it does look to be comparable. So it is unfortunate, but I do believe the pricing is consistent with what we've seen. And in conversations when we were looking for temporary services, many of the contractors we spoke with made it very clear that if they could offer services, it would be much, much more expensive than we were paying presently. So it's unfortunate, but I think that's the reality for most things these days, and we've seen it in our budget year over year. So.
Okay. So I think you mentioned that our current contracts would come to a close in 2025. Are we aligning this one up to be the same? Is that or is it going to be like a longer term or?
With this one, we tried to make it at least 3 years because of some of the investment required. So unfortunately, they're out of sync, but we could look at the next contracts to bring them back in sync on the subsequent tender, which would be quite a while from now.
Yes. Okay. Okay, thank you. You go ahead, Deputy.
That's correct, but we wouldn't be able to reoffer the tender. We issued a tender, we had bids, and we basically have to award based on those bids. We can't retender it.
Even where they're outside of budget, though, I would, you know, Deputy Warden, I'm going to take that button away from you. But I guess what I'm wondering is, you know, we've seen the bids come in a lot higher than what was anticipated. I'm wondering if some contractors maybe didn't bid because they anticipated it to be a lower amount. You know what I mean? That they would be successful, have to bid to be successful. So go ahead, Deputy Warden, yep.
I mean, I would suspect that the process is the way it is as outlined by the Director of Public Works, because once the tenders are opened, the cat's kind of out of the bag. That defeats the whole purpose of the tender process, right? So, I mean, you know, and I'll leave that to Chris to correct me if I'm wrong on that. So, I mean, I don't know why we would be able to reopen it.
I think the reality is we don't have a local bidder on this in Richmond County, right? So I think that's a part of the concern that I had anyway, but I know we do have a policy around it. Perhaps we need to, perhaps we need to defer to that policy, or maybe we need to look at potential shifts in policy, but I'm assuming that not being able to open it would be related to that. So go ahead, CAO.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for this one, with them being open and the price, or it being awarded at this point, we'd have a hard time, or not being awarded, sorry, being evaluated based on the criteria with the tender process, we'd have a hard time backing out at this point. Mm-hmm. Going forward, I would ask people to make that effort and be part of our tender processes. It's unfortunate that nobody from our actual county did or had the appropriate equipment as well, because that's another part of the tender process. They had to satisfy the requirements of the equipment as well. So.
Just to clarify, so it's neither tender.
There was a bidder with local connections. I don't know if they reside in the area or not, but it wouldn't factor into the award. It can't.
Anything over 10,000, sorry, the local loses its part of the evaluation, according to policy.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for those clarifications. I think, I know it was a difficult period of time when we were scrambling to find someone to do the collection, and a lot of stress on staff, and I'm sure your phones were ringing. I know mine was. But are there any other questions on this? Okay.
All right. Yeah, I think I just, maybe a little bit of clarification on our policy was definitely something before our next ones come up. Again, I agree. I don't like the fact of putting out retendering it since the cat's out of the bag, but I do believe that if it doesn't fall within our budget, then really we do have that option to, we can say no. Again, we're, and maybe the price does fall within the parameters of the everywhere else and everything, inflation and everything else, but it doesn't fall within the parameters of what we put aside for a budget. Moving forward, I think that we just have to definitely look at any more tenders that we submit, that we have the opportunity to say no and retender.
Yeah, so that would be a policy discussion. I think what we should be doing too is making sure that we really encourage local contractors to not rule themselves out of the bidding process, right? The tendering process. I think that would be really important. Even if they feel that they can't do it sustainably at a traditional price, that bid on the price that will allow you to be sustainable in the work. And I think maybe we could be doing a better job of that. Just by word of mouth, even just encouraging people to participate. So, but at this point, we do have a recommendation from staff. To recommend to council that we authorize them to proceed with the award of the Zone 3 curbside tender to the lowest priced bidder. Would someone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion. I'll make that motion.
Councilor Melanie, is there a seconder on it?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Sean Sampson. Any further discussion on this item?
So again, Madam Warden, if I can, I know it's hard to bring back to the table, but are we looking at almost $80,000 in the difference?
For the present fiscal, we're looking at a $10,000 to $20,000 overage. But from one contract to the other, you're looking at a twofold increase.
Right, it was double.
We'll say from prior contract to the new contract in the bid.
Yeah. So I don't know, I guess what was our budgeted amount? Maybe is what I would, is it in that proposal?
The budget is only impacted a little bit this year.
Sorry, Deputy Warden, I think I might have pressed the button there. You go ahead.
So the budget isn't impacted as much because it'll only run January to March this year. But I still share your concerns. I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, it looks like our budgeted waste collection costs were $580,000 for 23-24. I don't know if I know. Does it say which part of that is for Zone 3? Yeah, it's up in the prior paragraph. So, I think we're all feeling a little uncomfortable with this because of the dramatic price increase. It's a little bit of sticker shock. It's also really unfortunate that there's not a local bidder. It's really bothering me. But at the end of the day, we do have policy in place to ensure that we get the best bang for the taxpayers' dollars on this, on these types of things, and staff has followed policy. I know they are coming back to us looking for a recommendation to exceed the budget amount, but at the end of the day, our policy still guides us towards selecting that lowest bidder.
I mean, there's only one other option, right? Really, right? According to policy, the only other option, other than accepting the lowest bidder, is that we do it in-house. And the briefing note clearly outlines, and I would agree that it just doesn't seem to make sense that that's something that we would do.
I don't know that, as Councillor Sampson said, I don't know that that's our only option. Though, if we fall outside of the realm of our expected budgeted amount, there's nothing that stops us from putting it back out there for retender.
Yeah, so I share Councillor Melanie's concern as well, that, and CEO's concern that the cat is already out of the bag, right? So, this tender is pretty much, this information is out there, right? And the cat is out of the bag, so it'd be unfair to the people that already bid on this tender, in my opinion, right? So.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd agree that it's out of the bag necessarily, because if these same companies decide to retender, they may look at it differently, knowing that it's being issued a second time. It wouldn't be the first time you'd see tenders go out, and I'm not sure here, I just mean in general, see a tender go out to, whoever it may be, to not satisfied with the results, so they offer it one more time. I've seen that before.
Yeah, I know. I've seen that as well, Deputy Warden. When bids will come in consistently over, projects will sometimes go back out but usually with a reduced scope of work to have the project fall within. That's been my experience anyway. I'm less familiar with curbside collection contracts, so yeah.
And just to be clear, I wouldn't have expected it to come in anywhere near the numbers it had been previous, because I think we all know it was going to come in quite a bit higher. That's not, part of my concern too is just, that amount of money leaving the county every year. Whereas, if there was any chance at having a local bidder, at least that money would be staying within the county. That money would be invested here.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so the Councillor, Deputy Warden's concerns. My concern isn't so much the money leaving the County of Richmond. It's an open bid process, so therefore, I'm sure other counties, there's people from our county that work in other counties, and again, it's not to keep the money in house as much as I would like it, but I feel the fact that the cost of the bid is so much higher than what we budgeted for renders us to take another look. I guess one of the questions I have is this tender already been, I guess, given to the public, or is this the first time that is it out in our package?
The tender was published, like it's the request for quotes. Is that what you mean?
No, I mean the amount.
Oh, the amounts that have come back. Okay.
All of the bids are posted on the provincial procurement website. That's a requirement when you open a tender, and it's a public process. What I would add is if council is thinking of not following the recommendation, that they seek legal advice.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking through the purchasing and tendering policy, and from what I'm seeing, which I think has already been identified by the Director of Public Works, our policy clearly states that we cannot reissue the tender unless, as the warden has said, we change the scope of the work, and we're not going to change the scope of the work because the work that we need to do is the work that we've already requested tenders on. So we may want to reissue the tender in order to allow local people to put in a bid, but we can't do that.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right, Councillor Melanie. It's I mean, the situation is unfortunate, but at the end of the day, you know, we've got to put yourself in the shoes of the people who did put a bid in. And if I was, you know, in charge of putting one of those bids in, and then, you know, the tender was reopened, there'd be some questions in my mind of fairness, and I would likely be getting some legal advice, right? So I do think our hands are somewhat tied on it. Yeah, you know, I don't really see another option for us at this point. But you know, and not to say that the successful bidder won't do a great job. I'm sure they will. You know, but at the end of the day, I know we all share some concerns. So, CIO, did you have anything you wanted to say? Okay. Okay.
Thank you. If I need to add anything, I don't think I do.
Okay. So any other comments or questions? We have a motion on the floor and seconded. So any other discussion on this item? Okay. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay. The ayes have it, but we should register the 2 nay votes on that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, folks. Not an easy conversation, I know. So the next item on the agenda is a review of the Warden's Council report. So this is just for information only. Does anybody have any questions on my list that I provided of activities? All right, hearing none, we'll just move us right along. And the next item on the agenda, I had added in the St. Peter's Community Culture and Heritage Green Space. Really, I could have popped this under community acknowledgements, but I just wanted to say, if you have passed through the village of St. Peter's, they have started work on the former Irving lot, and the grass went down due to the efforts of a whole pile of volunteers and the village commission staff. So I just wanted to say well done on that, and hopefully more to come as the village continues to improve its downtown. Yeah, so I just wanted to say that. So I probably should have left that in the acknowledgements, but it landed here. So, all right. And if there's no other comments or questions on that, okay. So I'll move us on to the new rules for off-highway vehicles in effect. And I know the Deputy Warden wanted this added to the agenda, which I was very happy to see because I think there's some change in the wind there. So Deputy Warden, did you want to speak to this?
Yeah, so I've been contacted several times, including today, even with the email with lists and so on and that. But I think, so as the provincial pilot program, what I wrote, it's now become permanent to allow ATV use in specific locations on public highways within the province. It seems to claim it's now up to municipalities to decide if they want to allow for such changes, but I don't know if I'm 100% accurate on that. So all I was requesting tonight was just that staff could look into this and see where we go from here. Because I've gotten a lot of questions about it, and I think people were probably hoping it would be okay. The municipalities are going to allow this, right away. But I said without the details on this, we're not sure where to go. So we want to make sure we do this process properly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I want to look at the Police and Advisory Committee as well for some input on this, because I would hope that the province would be coordinating through the RCMP departments throughout the province, which look after the policing in a large portion of the rural municipalities, to make sure that we can get some guidance from them as well on how, because in a lot of places they act as the default traffic authority for the municipality. So it would be very important to make sure they're engaged in this process.
So I don't know if now's the time to ask you could get that maybe added to, we have a police advisory meeting this month, so maybe that would be, at least that would move that along sooner than later.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Yeah, I think we'll add that to our action list if councillors are in agreement that to ask staff to look into what the impact might be here and what our next steps might possibly be. I think about our trail strategy, Shannon, and I think, is there a way that this new development could help us connect our trails in a more robust way? There are some bridges that are tough to get across in this county, so.
Well, that was exactly one of the things highlighted in the trail strategy, was where we had areas within the county, like the bridge in Lennox Passage, the bridge in St. Peter's, where it doesn't allow for ATVs to cross. So, as far as increasing from a tourism standpoint for people to do multi-day trips, yes. This is something that has to be addressed.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Is there any other comments on that?
Yeah, I would just suggest that we reach out to members of the ATV Association of Nova Scotia, because they've been working on this file, obviously a long time. They were part of the selection of the pilot, or the submission of the roads for the pilot project, and I think that they have a process as well, because there are some roads that have to be approved, I think, still through the province. So I know, the local ATV club one of them in my district has provided some list of roads already that they're looking for. I suspect both of them have, but one for sure, so yeah.
So maybe the ask then is to ask staff to begin looking at next steps for the municipality, including reaching out to the Police Advisory Board and local ATV groups to develop, I guess, a plan of action.
Yep, that's what I heard.
Okay. So maybe you'll make that motion. Thank you, Deputy Warden. Could I have a seconder on that?
The only thing I would add is I don't know if we need council to reach out to all the ATV associations, or we might want to put it out there for the ATV associations to reach to council. Only because if we miss one, then it's going to.
So my suggestion was.
Oh, sorry, Melanie.
To reach out to the ATV Association of Nova Scotia, so not the local clubs, but the actual. You go right to the top. 100%. Yeah.
And it would be for staff as well. So we wouldn't expect folks to, be trying to, we want to make it consistent through staff. Okay, perfect. So any further discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye. 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 Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda is Bell Canada invitation to appear before council. And again, Deputy Warden, you wanted to bring this forward to council's attention. Over to you.
Yeah, so what I put here, having heard from residents, as well as we've all noticed the degradation of service with regards to cell coverage, I think, over the last year or two. And I know it's not only here, it seems to be throughout the province. But I thought it may be helpful to ask if we could have representatives from Bell appear before council. Now, I'm trying to remember, they did somewhere else lately, and I can't remember if it was Guysborough or Antigonish. I don't know that came to any conclusions. However, I have some major concerns with just the changes in service over time, and nobody seems to be able to get a square answer as to why. Another thing, in District 5, it's a semi-regular occurrence to have large landline outages in the Framboise area. There was one again yesterday. It was fixed by last night, but it seems to happen at least once every 2 to 3 months, and sometimes 4 or 5 days, or more. It's happened so many times now that it seems to me, there must be a serious issue there. But again, it gets solved. It gets solved temporarily. Mm-hmm. And then I hear from residents, a month or two down the road that it's happened again. But nobody seems to be able to give us a clear answer as to why or if something can be done about this. So I just thought it would be in our best interest to have, if it's possible, to have representatives from Bell appear before council, that we could ask them some questions and see if we could find any information that we don't seem to be able to give the public, because I know we probably all get asked these things from the public, and it's hard to know. You get different stories from different people. One person heard it was this, somebody else heard it was that, and I'd rather go right to the source.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Yeah, there certainly is lots of anecdotal speculation as to why that's going on, and maybe some of it's real and some of it isn't. I'm not sure, but it would be great to hear from the source for sure. And specifically, you're talking about Bell service, and not like, because I know Seaside provides some phone service, landline phone service, and.
Yeah, so the outage issues in Framboise are through Bell. Yeah.
Okay. Great. So would council be supportive of asking personnel from Bell Canada to attend the council meeting? Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Deputy Ward.
I'll-
It's a race to second the motion, so it's obviously a hot topic for folks. So, okay, so the motion's been made to request a representative from Bell Canada to attend a council meeting and have a discussion on cell and landline service. I do believe we have a contact from a while back, and maybe we can kind of reactivate that. So, any further discussion on this issue? Councillor Sean Sampson?
Yeah, not to go into it too much, but just to reiterate what Deputy Warden said, I've had many calls from my district in the Butcherville area, and have days, if not weeks, without landline use or internet service or phone service. Right, so I look forward to having some representation from Bell here to discuss this situation for sure. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, that motion is carried. Okay, thank you, Deputy Warden. The next item on the agenda is under the CAO regarding the Administration Operations Report. And I just want to thank Troy and the team for putting that together. It gave me really some updates on a few things that were kind of, I know we had been talked about in the past and where things are at now. This really is for information purposes and, again, just like the report that I do and our list of checks. But if folks have questions, you can go ahead and pose them.
And again, Madam Chair, if I may, if there's anything in-depth that you would want, feel free to email anytime. But if this just sparks your interest, saying, hey, I saw this on the report, send me an email, and regardless of the department, we'll get you an answer, let you know where we're at on any one of those items.
Thank you, Troy. It is hugely helpful because oftentimes constituents will, they'll be in the loop about something and they're going to want to talk to the councillor about it. It's nice to have it, on the agenda and in the tops of our minds. So it's really, really helpful. Thank you so much, everyone, for your effort on that. Okay, any other discussion on that? So the next item on the agenda then is our community acknowledgements, which we do each month at Committee of the Whole. I have a few to make, but I'll start off with a recognition for our Volunteer of the Month this month, which is Sarah Joyce. Sarah, I'm just going to read the submission. Sarah is one of those volunteers who are always eager and willing to help out and does so with a smile on her face and with a cause in her heart. She's an active member of her community and volunteers for multiple organizations. She's a member of the Lewisdale Fire Department Ladies Auxiliary, the Lewisdale Lions Club, where you can find her at their monthly breakfast. She is a member of both the St. Louis CWL as a co-convener for service, who most recently provided food bank boxes to local establishments to replenish the local food bank, which is a fabulous idea. She's also a member of the St. Louis Parish Hall Committee, where she volunteers her time to work in the canteen as well as the weekly bingos. Her community is very grateful for the countless hours she gives of her time and efforts to all events, activities, and occasions. So I'll just ask everyone to please join us in recognizing Sarah for her hard work, dedication, and her commitment to her community. We thank you for what you do for Richmond County. So if you see Sarah, give her a pat on the back. Anybody have any questions or comments they want to make on that one?
I'd just like to congratulate Sarah. She's from my district, and I do know her very well. And she does do everything with, that's not a joke, everything with a big smile on her face. She's always happy to help. If I can, while my mic is lit up, I just want to congratulate the Lewisdale Food Bank. They opened up a new location. I'm just going to excuse me while I look up the specifics in terms of opening times. They've also recruited a fair number of new volunteers. They have 13 new volunteers to help work with them. And for some reason, I cannot find this on my message, but they are open every couple of weeks. They have scheduled date and times of the weeks, which makes it more in line with what other food banks are doing and just makes it more consistent, I think, for users of the food bank. So big congratulations to them. Big congratulations also to the Ladies Auxiliary and the Lewisdale Fire Department. They had their annual fall fair on the 1st of October. Super fun, great, big, long parade, and just a day of good food and good fun. So just big congratulations to them as well.
Thank you, Councillor Melanie. I saw the pictures from the fall fair. It looked awesome. I have to say, that parade, nothing like a nice long parade. So, and I think on the topic of fire. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you know me with my community acknowledgements, right? Yeah, yeah. So for me, surprise, surprise, I just wanted to acknowledge some baseball players and a local baseball team. So École Beauport just recently won baseball regionals for our area, and they're going to be representing us at the provincial level on October 20th and 21st. At our beautiful baseball field here in Pettigrew. So just want to congratulate all the players and coaches and staff at École Beauport and wish them well during provincials.
Okay, now it's safe for me to press my button again. Thank you, Councillor Sean. Well said, well said. And I did want to also mention that the St. Peter's and Area Volunteer Fire Department, they celebrated their 60th anniversary this past weekend, which was a huge milestone, and the Ladies Auxiliary celebrated their 40th. So I wasn't able to make it to the open house. I was still on the road, but I got in to drop into their dinner that evening. And of course, while there, the call out comes, you know, and so they were a little delayed in getting to celebrate together. But what a great group. The Lakeside Community Center was packed, and I know that they had a huge attendance at their open house, which they made very interactive by allowing the kids to do some work with the hoses and all this kind of fun stuff. So yeah, no, just a huge congratulations to them. It's a dedicated group, and we don't know what we'd do without them. So the other community acknowledgement I wanted to make is that this is CCA week. So CCA week occurs each year in Nova Scotia, and I think, you know, I just wanted to say on behalf of the council to the CCA folks, I want to thank their dedicated people who are caring for our elders and vulnerable people. And whether they provide the service through the VON or other home support or at facilities like Richmond Villa or St. Anne's Centre, they are really a shining light for many of the individuals that they care for and their families. Their work enables many of our elders to age with dignity, and it supports families and friends who are working hard to juggle family work and other commitments. So I did want to mention also through our friends at Cape Breton South Recruiting for Health, there are some, I think, small tokens of appreciation being kind of spread around this week. There are also some radio ads and social media efforts that are going on to recognize the efforts of CCAs. So I would encourage council and members of the public to watch for those messages, share them widely, and maybe personally thank a home support worker when you get a chance. So thank you for your service to the CCAs during this week of celebration of their work. And I think last but not least for me was, I think we need to mention that it's Celtic Colours Week in Cape Breton. I'm not sure if anybody noticed, but the beginning of the week, certainly from the Sunday to the Wednesday, it's a really intense time for Celtic Colours in Richmond County in particular. I believe they had the Lordways concert on Sunday, the Discouse concert last night on Monday night, which I was fortunate to MC, and it was a really great time. It was packed. The concert, I think this evening, sadly we're here, but other people are having a great time in Lower River right now. And then tomorrow night we have the St. Peter's concert. So I think it just needs to be said that there are hundreds of volunteers supporting those activities in Richmond County, literally, from people who are making food to people who are parking cars to you name it, right? So a huge thank you to the folks who are helping to make Celtic Colours a reality in our community and all of the community events that go along with it. I saw the guiding lights for Almadam with the lighthouse tours and the Scottish country dancing activity in St. Peter's. There's so much going on this week, and it makes the festival a success socially, but also economically for our county, and so that wouldn't happen without their effort. So thank you very much to the folks who are making all that happen. So were there any other items that folks wanted to discuss?
Yeah, so I just wanted to acknowledge the volunteers at the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 150 here in Arishat. every year they hold an annual volunteer banquet, which I have the honor of attending and privilege of attending. And just wanted to acknowledge all those volunteers and thank them for everything they do for the Legion and for our community. When it comes down to the community breakfasts and the fish fries on Friday nights, and the veteran banner event that they put on, they're doing some great things there. So just want to acknowledge and thank them all.
Thank you, Councillor Sampson. That's great. Yeah, certainly our Legions are working hard to. I know I went to a roast beef dinner at the Grand Dance Legion the other day and maybe I had to get it to go, but it was still really good when I got home that night around 11. I was starving, so. Okay, so any other items to add under that on that topic? Okay. All right, so the next item on the agenda is correspondence, action required. There was none. Under correspondence for information only, we do have the 2021-2022 draft financial condition indicators from the Department of Municipal Affairs, and I think that's been brought forward as a result of a question we got last week, a question period. I believe that information has been sent to the person as well, has it? Or okay, well we can make that happen then. That's great. But now they're part of the package. Are they on our website anywhere, CAO? I wasn't sure.
Not as of yet.
Okay.
Yep.
Maybe that's something we could consider add. Okay.
Oh, sorry, Madam Chair, if I could. Oh.
No, you're good.
There you go. We'll get through it. As you can see, greens across the board with the exception of two, and the uncollected taxes is going in the right direction. And again, this is a lagging indicator from the work that's already been done. It dropped from 19 something the previous year down to 16, so this shows that we're heading in the right direction, which is great. We're hoping that the next time this one comes out, we're close to the yellow, and then we'll just keep working on that. And thanks to the folks in the finance department, especially Clinton, the work that he's been doing on that file for us. And then the 3-year change in the tax base is, again, that's the change from a couple of years ago, and it just takes time to go, right? Yeah. So all in all, pretty good report card.
Yeah, it is. It's great. It's nice to see all those green indicators. We're moving in the right direction, so thanks to the work of staff and the finance team on that for sure. Any questions regarding the draft financial condition indicators?
Yeah, so, thank you, Madam Warden and CEO for getting us in the finance department for giving us that information. I did drop that off to the resident in question that asked that question, so he does have that information. So yeah, like you said, CEO, it's going in the right direction. So we're at a low risk, so it's a pretty good report card. Again, the uncollected taxes, it's good to see it's going in the right direction. So that was the only red situation. And the tax base, is that like a decline in the population? Is that what that is, or?
I believe that was related to the tax change in Point Upper, was it? Or I can't.
I would refer to the CFO. Do you know offhand which one that was?
Yeah, it's just it's a 3-year change in tax base. So the way they look at it is growth. This was the one from last year, but it said growth is below CPI percentage change of 6.7, but above 0. So it says the municipality's tax base is not keeping up with the cost of municipal services and programs. So I think it just means growth of the uniform assessment and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Comparing it to CPI, CPI is higher than the actual growth of the road, then they're saying there's a variance or there's not. So.
Right. Thank you.
And this report card more or less is put out every year. Yeah, it's more or less a report card of all the municipalities in the province, how they're doing. Okay, is that put out like at the same time every year, CFO, or?
Yeah, so. Sorry, this is just the draft, but you had a certain amount of time to respond, and then they'll be publishing the final report. So it is on Municipal Affairs website. When the final is released, it kind of looks like this. It's a little bit of a bigger report, so what we can do is send that out, or we can put it on our website as well.
Yeah, I think that would be great to put it on the website and make it public, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Sampson, CAO and Jason as well for your input on that. Any other questions on the correspondence?
I think I would, I love looking at the report card. The only thing that bothers me looking at it, and it did from day one when I ran, was the uncollected tax list. So I think it's something that I hope we are pushing really strong again, but I do know that, you know, when we brought it in at the beginning and we started looking at the pieces of property that were taxes were not being collected, I do know of many that are out there still not being collected. So again, I don't know how we go about it, whether we have our taxation officer go piece for piece or we do a land overlay with somebody. But again, I really think that we have to go from one end of Richmond County to the other, and that seems, I'm pretty sure that's what closed the gap, because we're talking several $100,000 the first time they've done the assessment, or the first time that they come back with the.
So, yeah, so Councillor, I think the tax sales, we increased from 1 to 2 tax sales a year, and that's going to make probably a huge impact on that too. So, but maybe that's a conversation we can have if if you're thinking there might be, maybe that's a brainstorm you'd have with the CAO, and we can figure out a way forward. Yeah, okay. Sounds good. Any other questions? All right, so the next item on our agenda is unfinished business. The first one is CEPI, the Two-Eyed Seeing Conference sponsorship opportunities. And I know while I was away, Stan and Ron had come in and done a presentation, and then we discussed it a little bit at the last meeting, asked, just wanting, because they're on such a tight timeline with this, the conference is November 13th to the 15th. Wanted to kind of recommend back to staff to see what we could potentially do. Since the memo to council was provided by the CAO, I can tell you I've already started working with Annie, so we have a grant application put together. I'm still very concerned about the timing, because our next regular meeting isn't until October 20-something. I'd have to double check. 23rd, thank you. So, I'm not sure, so I anticipate a grant application coming in. The timing of it, I don't know if we could potentially look at doing a special gathering on maybe virtually to have a quick discussion on it, if folks would be open to that. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that, because I know it's a busy schedule in the fall. So I think that will, help a lot. And I know that, like I said, the draft is with Annie now, and hopefully they'll be able to get that back to us. And we'll go from there. All right. Perfect. Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is really just for information purposes, but it made me feel warm and fuzzy inside when I looked at it. It is the governance boundary review regarding the Nova Scotia Utility and Review Board order. So the order has come back in official format with the maps attached, confirming our recommendation on the slightly tweaked boundaries would go forward effective, I guess, the next election cycle. So just congratulations, councillors and staff. This was a huge undertaking, and it's nice to see that the Utility and Review Board has supported our findings and recommendations. So, yeah. Any questions on that?
Just want to reiterate what you said, Madam Warden, and thank you to all of you around this table, and CEO and everybody involved. It was our first kick in the can with a boundary review, and at the end, we came out with something I think that worked for all of us and worked for all the residents of Richmond County, and it was good to see that the UARB board approved it with very little opposition and very much confidence, and they appreciate the way that we went through the process. So just want to applaud all of you and thank you all. And yep.
Thank you.
Yep. So is that going to be officially put on the website now, shall we, or that boundary review for the residents to know?
Yeah, I think we may want to put a news release out on it. So maybe, Troy, you and I could kind of work on something, just to kind of say, there's been a bow tied on all of this work, and I think we should also thank members of the public for providing such great feedback as well, because certainly there were meetings and there were
lots
consultations.
Of engagement sessions.
And, yeah, exactly. Okay, so we'll put that on our list of things to do. All right. But just keeping in mind, though, that being said, for right now, the boundaries, of our current jurisdictions have not changed. That will come into effect after the next election. Okay. The next item on the agenda then is the review of checks issued. So were there any questions on the September checks? Okay, hearing none. The next is the review of action items. Any questions on that? Okay, then there were the items added to the agenda. So I'll begin with the wastewater management district fund. So I'm just having a quick little conversation with Chris just before the meeting started this evening and earlier in our bylaw and policy meeting. Just wanted to kind of introduce the idea of looking into maybe writing a letter to other levels of government, encouraging them to continue to fund wastewater management district funds if council was in support of that. My understanding is that it was a federal provincial program, and that a certain percentage would be paid by, through that program, a certain percentage would be paid by the homeowner, and then the municipality would generally pick up the remainder of the bill, which Chris indicated was about $1,000, depending on the type of work that that happened. But the uptake was really strong, and I think resulted in a lot of, let's just say, improvements, much needed improvements to septic systems in our county, which is obviously going to improve our environment. So, would council be in favor of maybe, I don't know, Troy and I starting to look into the feasibility, or not really the feasibility, but the idea of starting to advocate if it makes sense for us to do so around this program? Yeah? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for sure, Madam Warren. I'm still getting requests every day of people that want to apply for this program, and yeah, I think it was a great program and helped out a lot of people when it comes to their septic systems. So I'd be all in favor for that for sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Sean. So maybe we'll just take that away as a consensus, and maybe we can chat about it with Chris. I don't want to, don't want to start advocating for something that's not sustainable for our county, but I'd like to at least start to kind of think about it. So, okay. The next item on the agenda, then, I think, was related to deer population. Yes. Over to you.
Yeah. So I think we can all agree when we've looked at the past year and a half or so when it comes to floods and hurricanes and wildfires and everything, when it comes to insurance companies and insurance claims and when it comes to coverage and our insurance going up rate wise. I've got numerous calls recently on the deer population, especially on this island here. People saying they go for leisure drives and count 35 deer in 45-minute drive or whatever, right? And people reporting collisions and numerous people, to the point where their insurance companies are kind of, looking at the situation and asking, what the next steps are, right? And talk to some residents where insurance companies are willing to even, give letters of support to DNR, to see if there's any kind of immediate plan, short-term, long-term plan to see if we can lower the population of deer in our county, right, and try to decrease the number of collisions that are happening and occurring in our county.
So, and I totally agree with you that it is becoming a bit of a safety concern. On our way home from the concert last night, we saw another collision. So are you thinking a letter to DNR? Is that what you're?
Yeah, if we could look at, what you talk to some people and they say that in the Truro area they have a bow season to the point where they have a crossbow season where, they open it up and it increases the amount of does that are being hunted, right? So, anything that, and they're talking about, working with Feed Nova Scotia and food banks and all that stuff when it comes to, sharing, any kind of meat or anything like that, right, when it comes to that stuff, right? So I'd just like to see what DNRR is doing across the province to, to see if we can look at some kind of situation here in our county and try to fix this problem a little bit.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Sean Sampson. So would council be in agreement to, I don't know, maybe the action is to ask staff to reach out to staff at DNRR to
See what's on the go.
yeah, see what's on the go and find out if there maybe is an opportunity, for us to advocate maybe at a more political level. We are back from closed session, so I think we have one motion to make. Would somebody like to put a motion on the table?
So I will make a motion that we adjust the organizational chart as presented in camera, including the position classifications within that document.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Melanie Sampson. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Sean Sampson has seconded the motion. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, that motion is carried. And then I guess there being no further